This is Shel C from Paper Octio Studio, and I'm bringing to you another piece for the hashtag Love Fantasy Art Crawl event from Creative Arts Collaboration. This is the last day, so I wanted to get one more project. I had planned this project to be watercolor and acrylic mixed media together. It ended up having collage as well. I got these new, very intensely pigmented powders for my birthday from my best friend, and they're called Color Burst from Ken Oliver, and I wanted to try them out. So I've got this 140-pound cold press watercolor paper, and I'm going to try them out because I've seen other people use these type of things, and also Brusho and whatever other brands there are. And I was planning on using that and then using acrylic over the top. So I'm doing a drawing, and my drawing is a mermaid because that's a fantasy character. Don't think they really exist. Maybe they do. I hope they do because I think that's really cool. But having a lot of trouble with the angle of the head. The original head that I drew, I didn't think it was possible for your neck to do that, so I erased it and I changed it and I erased it and I changed it and I erased it over and over, and I finally decided that she could have her head slightly tilted down and to the side as if she's looking at you like, why are you bothering me? Leave me alone, you know? You know that look if you have any teenagers. That would be the don't talk to me. So anyway, that's what I finally ended up with. And I mean, I think I erased that like 6 times. I don't know. But I finally got my drawing down. This is my soft leaded mechanical pencil and my kneaded eraser. And yes, I'm wearing a nightgown. This was very early in the morning, and I didn't think anyone would be able to tell. But you keep seeing the sleeve of my nightgown come into the screen. So, sorry, sometimes I do art in my nightgown. I'm sure I'm not the only one. In fact, I watched a video the other day and I could tell that she was wearing flannel pajamas. So, the drawing's about done. I've added a little dolphin. I absolutely love dolphins. I have a dolphin tattoo, and I truly believe that the dolphin is my totem animal. I think that I was either a dolphin or I lived with dolphins or something in another life, because I just feel a real affinity to them, and also the ocean, although I live in the desert. But I miss the ocean, and I like to visit the ocean when I can. Probably was a dolphin. And then I finally found my tortilla paper stump blender. So I did blend the graphite because it tends to want to run if you don't have it blended. Finally figured that out. And I started doing my little powders, and I spritzed the paper and then put the powders on, and my paper instantly curled, and I realized, duh, I need to make myself a firm board with a waterproof surface to tape my paper down, and I keep not doing it and then regretting it. So I just taped it down to a craft mat for now until I figure out something. And I squirted on, I think it's lemon yellow, yellow ochre, orange, vermilion, phthalo blue. I can't remember what the green is called. Maybe it was phthalo green. I don't know. Anyway, those are the powders I used, and I just wet the water. Oh my gosh, I'm really tired. This is the second time I've edited this video because the whole thing crashed and corrupted itself, and I had to re-download it, and oh man, I'm tired. I just want to get this done. So anyway, once I had dried up that watercolor, I really think it's cool. I'm going to play with this so much. I love the way it looks. But of course, I wanted my figures to stand out. So I'm using some white gesso and going over them. And I'm kind of having what I call a dilutions moment. If any of you have ever used dilution sprays, and you try to put gesso over them, you try to put other paints over them, and they just keep bleeding through. And I think that these powders are similar to that. They're just intense pigment, and the little sprinkles keep wanting to come through the gesso. I keep putting on another layer, I keep getting more spots. So I decided at that point that I was probably going to do collage, which I love to do collage anyway. I just was trying to make this a little bit quicker project. The project did take me 3 hours 17 minutes, and condensing that down into 20 minutes means that this is going 8 times fast. So that's why it's so fast. I didn't want it to be a 3 hour long project, you know. So I've used my gesso kind of to find my focal points, and then for her rock, I'm gonna collage. That's the first thing. In fact, I thought I was gonna collage that anyway. I'd always thought I was, but I thought I was gonna paint the dolphin and paint the mermaid. And so I've got out some of my grays and blacks from my one of my color boxes. Now, this might seem random to you when I do this, but it's actually not. I'm creating highlights and shadows with the values of the paper. That's why I call it paper painting and not just collage. But I did use my little deli paper method that you might have seen in the octopus canvas. I'm really getting to like that a lot. It makes my life a lot easier. So I'm still thinking I'm going to paint the mermaid, so I'm painting in her tail with some PBO Dyna. I think that's yellow green or green yellow paint, because that's the color I wanted the tail, and I was waiting for my rocks to dry. Finally ended up heat tooling them. Then I cut them apart and I applied them, and I think they look really cool. And that's when I realized I was probably just going to collage all the main focal points because I just really like the way it looks. I think it looks really cool and unique, and I just like it. Okay, I just like gluing paper to stuff. That's just all there is to it. I don't know, maybe I missed paste and paper cutting in kindergarten and I have to make up for it. I don't know. I'm just crazy about it. People, I love it. I'm sorry. So I'm getting out some more of my color boxes. These are the plastic boxes that I sort my scraps of paper into. Painted papers, um, napkins that have got sprays on them, scraps of jelly prints, you know, stuff. I have a lot of stuff. I even have things like the insides of safety envelopes. There's a lot of little like plaid and striped patterns in blue and white, which I think are really cool. I when I have a paper scrap, I just sort it into colors and keep them in my little boxes. So I've got my sunshine here, and I'm adding some oranges and yellows, and the main part in the middle, which you can't see, it has a lot of texture to it. It's actually a paper towel that got yellow, I don't know, probably spray on it. And I thought that that was going to be a lot more transparent than it was. It ended up being too opaque, so you'll see what I did with that. But I'm also doing my dolphin, and there's some light gray and some light blue papers for him. Cut out my sunshine, and I'm drawing the dolphin and cutting it out. But I thought that after I put that on, the yellow didn't show up enough, so I decided to add some of the color burst powders over the top of the sun and just add a little bit more color to it. It was too matchy matchy. And I've got my dolphin cut out, gonna put him on. He's gazing adoringly at this mermaid who's giving us a teenager look. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. We need to tell the story. Somebody needs to tell the story about what's going on here. Maybe she was having an intense discussion with this dolphin who's adoring her, and we interrupted. That's probably what happened. We interrupted, and she's like, "Could you not? Okay." So now I decide, okay, fine, I'm going to collage the tail because I just am. So I go ahead and get out my green and my teal boxes and start pulling out some papers. I happen to have some deli paper that has a lot of that same PBO Dyna paint on it, so that's going to work out. It's kind of shimmer shine, it's kind of pretty. And then I actually have some paper that was from my palette that has a bunch of glitter glue on it for some reason. Stickles. I'm not sure what happened, but I added that in. It's got like a teal or aqua color, and then it's got this glitter on it, which, like, how lucky was that? That's serendipity right there. So I go direct to the piece to put on the scales that go over her um, top bits, and then I'm doing the tail with the deli paper method. Very teeny tiny little pieces, teeny tiny tiny little pieces, because they're to look like scales. And then for the fin part, I tear the paper into strips, like little strips, so that it looks more like a fin. They have kind of the spines through them or something. I don't know if it's. I'm not sure exactly what actually creates that, but you know what I'm talking about because you've seen a fin before. You know what I'm talking about. So I do wish that I could do this fast in real life, but it takes patience, it takes concentration and thought about where you're putting the colors and what colors you're putting down. But I do love doing it. So I'm going to get that cut out and lay it over, and then I decide that I want to add it's blending too much into the sea, so I want to add some lighter little fin areas. I should have had more lighter colors on it, I decided. So I used a Tim Holtz stencil to just kind of sponge on some white little scales, and that worked out pretty well. So gonna put that on super fast, super fast. I'm a speed demon. And then I start painting in her hair. And I realize as I'm painting that I didn't leave the section of the rock where the hair on the other side would be, so I've got to paint it in over the rock. So it's kind of bumpy, but I use yellow, which is it's just not very opaque. There's no yellow that's really opaque. And so then I have to use white because it is opaque. And I'm doing some highlights on her face to start creating her face as I'm going. I've got the white out, so I'm going to go and blend some of that in while it's there. And then I get out my Neocolor 2 crayons because I like to do skin with those. Because you've all been watching my videos, right? You know what I do, right? No, some of you haven't seen my videos. So I've got different shades of Neocolor 2 that I like to use for skin. And I'm adding some mid-tones now, and then some deep tones for shadow, and just doing my layers to build up her skin, her face and body. Putting some shadows in the eye sockets. You get the idea. I do wish that you could see this a little bit better. There's a bit of reflection which makes it hard to see, plus I don't have a super high quality camera. If I was rich, I'd buy one, So then I'm putting in gold metallic PBO Dynapaint, and in real life that is actually a dark color. It's giving me shadows underneath, But in the camera, it's reflecting, so it just looks like I'm putting nothing on. And I find that very interesting watching it as I'm doing this. It's like you can't see that that's a dark color, but in the pictures you will see what it looks like. It's pretty bizarre. On the palette you can see it's a dark color, but when I put it on the painting you can't. It's like there's just nothing. So then I'm going to put some watercolor just around the edges of the sun for a darker color, and I realize that the sun is not stuck down. So I have to put some more golden gel matte medium down. And then I start adding my shadows around everything with a Stabilo All pencil and blending it with a water barrel brush. This is almost the final step, but I am going to add some different stuff to the face than I do to this. But you've seen me do this before, or you've seen other people do it. It separates the focal images from the background and gives it an illustrate look, which, although I want to be a painter, I think I'm an illustrator. Because I seem to like black lines around everything or dark lines around everything. When I was a child, I used to make bulletin boards for my mother's classroom. She was a teacher, and we always used a fat Sharpie around everything before we cut it out. So there was always lots of lines, and I guess I still do that. I still am doing that. I like the way it looks. So I was using my white Posca pen there to add some real bright highlights and to put the whites in her eyes. Wouldn't want her to have pink eye. And then I've got my extra small, that's the XS India ink pen, which is the Pitt pen from Faber-Castell. And I'm just doing some lines around her face and around her body. Adding a little bit of color to her eyes with Posca. And then just adding in some lines. The pen keeps getting clogged up. I didn't wait long enough for everything to be dry, so I have to keep writing the pen off to get the paints off of it. Because you can ruin them that way. Done lots of times, and I don't want to ruin these very expensive Faber-Castell Pitt pens. More Stabilo All. I switched to the small pen from the set of Pitt pens instead of the extra small. We're almost done. My camera says beep beep. That's like you see my hand going up a couple times to make it be quiet. Adding a little bit more highlights with my white Posca pen, and here are your close-ups. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Oh, and be sure to check out everyone else's art by searching the hashtag #LoveFantasyArt. Thanks. Bye-bye.